What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Fun Dads, and again, subscribe if you want a chance at DeAndre Swift free jersey. We're going to be going through sophomore wide receivers. It's one of the most important things in Dynasty is to go, okay, is this player going to continue to rise in his sophomore season, or is he going to be a bust? And we're going to try to answer that question, especially in the wide receiver position. There's a big, huge threshold that we're going to go through right now. It's 80 points. So 80 points is half-point PPR, and we're going to we're going to go back through time and see, okay, what players have been maybe the exceptions to this rule, and what players have really fallen into this kind of trap. And we're going to go right through the 2019 season. 2019 season now has 3 seasons under its belt, and we talked about last year about how there's very few players that went under 80 points per game that actually rose above averaging 100 points per season, after their rookie year. And it was Mike Williams, it was Chris Godwin, and that was fairly about it. I mean, so there's a big, huge threshold spot here. There's a couple players that were just over that 100 point, and then they kind of dipped back down. But we look at players like N'Keal Harry, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, Paris Campbell. We talked about all those players as potentially being breakouts, but I mean, according to this data and what we even have promoted is to sell those players after their freshman year, we'll just call it, their rookie year. And they didn't hit that 80-point threshold, and they didn't again make that step forward. Now we go into the 2022 class, and really there was only one exception to the rule, but we saw players like KJ Hamler and Henry Ruggs and Quintus Cephas and Jalen Reagor, and we saw a lot of these players basically do the same thing. Now Henry Ruggs, of course, had some situations. Brian Edwards was one of a big, hey, we gotta buy him, and really he didn't hit the 80-point threshold. We saw that Michael Pittman Jr. was at 78.9 points, so he's 1 point below the threshold. But he actually had more than 100 points this last year. Of course, he had a really good season in 2021. But he also missed multiple games in his rookie campaign. He only played 13 games, and so he was super close to the threshold. But let's look at Claypool and Higgins and Lamb and not Godwin and Judy had a year, but even Chenault had an okay year compared. He was almost up to his rookie season. So it seems like if you're above the 80 points, you're kind of in the safe zone. If you're below the 80 points, that is when you start to struggle, and that's when you start to really have concern. And why we go through this is because we have the 2021 season's over. Wide receiver finishes that are below the threshold. Well, I mean, we have players like Rashad Bateman, who's at 80.5. We have Rondale Moore at 82.1. We have Joshua Palmer at 76.4. We have a lot of people already talking about the Joshua Palmer breakout season coming up for the Chargers next year. And I do want to kind of hold and be like, hey, here are the players above 80 points. We got Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore. We know that those players are probably going to continue to be well. I mean, even look at Elijah Moore with being hurt for multiple games and still being over that 80-point threshold. If you were to extrapolate, let's just say that 80 points, now if an extra game, that would be 85 points. So will 85 points be the new threshold? And if so, then we have some big, huge concerns about Rondale Moore at 82.1, Rashad Bateman at 80.5, Nico Collins, Joshua Palmer, Kadarius Toney, which is a big one. A big guy that they were talking about a second-year jump forward. And then, of course, like Anthony Schwartz and Amari Rodgers and Diami Brown and Dwayne Eskridge, which are all players that we're not buying. And we haven't bought in the past anyways. So this is a huge concern and potentially a good time to actually sell Rondale Moore, sell Kadarius Toney, because they're likely not to make the jump. And how likely are they not to make the jump? Between 2015 2018, there was 36 wide receivers that didn't hit the 80-point threshold. You had Chris Godwin, DJ Chark, Curtis Samuel, Corey Davis, and Nelson Aguilar, who averaged more than 100 points or more in seasons after the rookie campaign. Well, now you can say, Curtis Samuel, he's been hurt. Chark now was hurt as well. So really you have 4 wide receivers breaking that mold. It could happen, but now your chances are what? 4 out of 36. That's 1 out of 9. So you're talking about 11% chance. And so when we're talking about 11% chance, I do not like those chances compared to maybe before the season where Bateman had a 50% breakout, 70% breakout, whatever it might be. And so now we've had basically 5 of the last 56 rookies, because you got to add some of the other players in there. So you're going to add Pittman in there. But yeah, there's a lot of players who, I mean, you're talking 51 of the 56 rookies have not been able to get into that 100 points or more, or averaging 100 points or more. That's so you're talking about now you're down to 8.9%. So again, really, you need a wide receiver to average about 141 points to be a top 36 wide receiver. We're not talking about much. I think that's the biggest concern to me, is I'm not saying, hey, this person has to average 150 more points or more points per year after their rookie campaign. I'm saying 100. And 100 is very small when it comes down to it. We're not even talking about the top 36 wide receiver on average. And so that is a super concerning statistic of like, hey, Bateman, Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, those are players that I'm selling. I'm not having on my roster. I love Bateman. He's a Gopher boy. He's a Minnesota boy. Well, I don't know if he was born and raised in Minnesota. I just know he's a Gopher boy. But this is times to sell and be able to try to get 80 to 90% of your value. If somebody said, hey, because Bateman was probably mid to later first, probably super flex, maybe early second even. Same with Rondale Moore, kind of in the same category. If I would say, hey, you get one of those guys, or you get Chris Olave, or you get, I'm trying to think of a good comp. You get a kind of that end of first, early second, or you even get an early second round pick. I don't think Drake London's going to fall, but hey, even Jameson Williams is like a guy that's recovered from ACL injury. He probably will be maybe even in the mess of this mold because he will be injured for his entire rookie year. But this is times to be like, all right, maybe we should sell. Maybe I can get a David Bell out of this. Maybe I can get a lower tiered tier 2 running back out of this. And so this is just kind of one of those things. We got to start looking into analytics now. Start looking into some statistics or some trends to be like, hey, what are we going to do? If you by the way, if you like this video so far, whoa, I don't know, let's move the whole camera. We have DeAndre Swift jersey. All you got to do is subscribe for free. For free. Free. With your people's favorites words. Let me know what kind of analytics you would like. I've got a bunch of different draft stuff where the values of an average draft is. Oh man, there's so many analytics. Sometimes it can be an overanalysis or overanalyzation of the analysis. Like it can get to be too much sometimes because you're trying to be like, okay, does this player check off all these different boxes? And then you can get into kind of a mess with that because like David Bell is a player that checks all those boxes, but do you like that player better than a guy that maybe doesn't check all those boxes, like maybe like Garrett Wilson? And so analytics is only a part of the analysis. You have to do video, you have to go through game tape, and you have to see improvements too. I mean, I want to see these players improve. I don't want to see them freshman year. Breakout age is important, but I also don't want them to just be a good 18-year-old and then they're a good 20-year-old. It's like I want to see them be a good 18-year-old, hopefully, and be a great 20-year-old. I want to see them progress. I want to see them get better. I want to see their route running improve. I want to see their catch prove. I want to see them become more fluid. I want to see them either be faster or whatever. I want to see some different improvements from year to year. I don't want to see the stagnant, basically, player that was, hey, he was good at 18, but then he kind of stayed good, and now he's just kind of a good 20-year-old. Well, maybe he'll be just a good 21, 22-year-old, but he won't be amazing. And I want somebody that is amazing. You want the blow-up players. You want the next big top 12, you want like Elijah Moore. If he would have had a healthy year, it would have been really interesting to see where he's at. But you would have wanted that versus somebody like maybe Bateman, who just really didn't show up this year. So, enough said. All right. We'll see you soon, guys. Peace out. Take care.
Now turn